The world's fastest man has a serious problem. Noah Lyles is widely regarded as the fastest man in the world. He's the reigning 100-meter Olympic champion, the undisputed king of the 200 meters, and one of the most dangerous sprinters on planet Earth. But for the first time in years, the title of the fastest man in the world isn't safe. Because while everyone is paying attention to Noah Lyles, the rest of the sprinting world has been quietly catching up. Oblique Seville is running the fastest races of his career. Trayvon Bromell and Jordan Anthony have already beaten Lyles this season. Marcel Jacobs has just produced one of the fastest 100-meter performances ever recorded. And trackflation is becoming a real issue. Every week, some random teenager from Texas runs another unbelievable record-breaking time. In 2026, sprinting has entered a completely new era. And somehow, almost nobody is watching. Noah Lyles is a 4-time 200-meter world champion. He won the 100 meters at the Paris Olympics in one of the closest finishes in Olympic history. He has run 19.31 in the 200 meters. He has been the world lead in the 100 meters. But he doesn't just compete at the highest level. He competes at his best when the stakes are highest. He talks the talk and he backs it up. He has spent the last 6 years making a legitimate case that he is the best sprinter in the world. And for the most part, that argument is correct. Coming into 2026, nobody was questioning him. He looked fit, he looked motivated. The 150-meter world record he ran earlier this year was completely ridiculous. When healthy, Noah Lyles is the man everyone wants to beat. But in sprinting, nobody cares about what he did last year. And 2026 has already proved that the title of the fastest man in the world is anyone's game. The World Indoor Championships. Noah enters the 60 meters as the heavy favorite. He doesn't win. He gets rolled by Jordan Anthony in an embarrassing loss. Look, the 60 meters isn't Lyles' race. It rewards pure acceleration. It rewards raw first step power. Noah is elite at his top end speed. His closing speed over the final 30 meters of a 200 meter race is genuinely terrifying. However, the 60 meters cuts the race before he even gets there. So you can take his 60 meter loss to Jordan Anthony with a grain of salt. But then came Paris, the Diamond League 100 meters, one of the biggest races on the circuit. Trayvon Bromell lines up beside him. And Bromell, who's had his own battles with injuries and inconsistencies over the years, beats Lyles decisively. No excuses, no photo finish. Bromell goes through first, easily. Noah Lyles doesn't look bad in that race, but that's the thing. He runs well and still gets beaten. 2 losses to start the season off. 1 indoors and 1 out. He doesn't look like he's struggling. He just looks human. For someone who spends all of his days on a media tour telling everyone that he's the fastest man in the world, these losses are concerning. But let's talk about Oblique Seville, because I genuinely think he's one of the most important stories in sprinting right now. Seville is the reigning 100-meter world champion. He won in Tokyo in 2025 running 9.77 in a dominant race. He barely looked like he was working at full effort, and a lot of people who watched that race thinking the same thing, that Oblique Seville has a much higher ceiling than he has already shown us. Then at the 2026 Jamaican National Championships, he runs a world-leading 9.82. His drive phase out of the blocks is technically clean. He rolls into his top speed without anything looking forced, and at the finish, he's not leading desperately into the line, he is easing up, meaning that he has much more to give. And for the first time in a while, it feels like Oblique Seville has the highest ceiling than Noah Lyles. Not because Noah Lyles has dropped off, but because Seville is looking like he is still getting better. And the World Ultimate Championships are coming later this year, and this rivalry is going to be the center of the 100 meters. And then came the biggest surprise of the entire season, the Raiffeisen Open in Austria. Not exactly a meet on everyone's radar. I didn't even know the meet existed until today. But Marcel Jacobs showed up and runs his heat in 9.84, winning comfortably. Then, just an hour later, lines up for the final and runs 9.67. Let's think about that time for a second. 9.67 seconds in the 100 meter dash. The only human being who has ever run faster than that was Usain Bolt. Therefore, Marcel Jacobs just ran the second fastest 100 meter dash of all time in any conditions. Look, the win was 4.1, so it won't count. It's almost double the legal limit of plus 2.0. But just for reference, Tyson Gay ran his best ever wind assisted time of 9.68 in the same plus 4.1 wind conditions back in 2008. And Jacobs just ran faster than that. After years of injuries, after years of barely even cracking 9.90, after the entire track world completely gave up on him, Marcel Jacobs is back, running times like 9.67 and putting everyone in the track and field world on high alert. This was by far the most surprising sprint performance of 2026, and it wasn't even close. But let's look at track and field as a whole for a second, because the Jacobs run and the Seville run and the Bromell win over Lyles are not isolated incidents. They are part of something bigger that's happening across the entire sport. And people in the track and field community have a word for it, and they call it trackflation. Basically, trackflation is that everyone is getting faster across every level. And it's happening faster than anyone expected in 2026. We've got a 17-year-old Quincy Wilson running 44.10 in the 400. We've got Gap from Australia running 19.67 in the 200. An 18-year-old Tate Taylor ran 19.94 to break the American high school record. His training partner, Jaco Day Jordan, just ran 10.01 to set a European under-20 record. And at the same Jamaican championships, where Seville ran 9.82, a 19-year-old named Gary Card ran 9.93. He's just 19 years old. A 9.93 would have made an Olympic 100-meter final not that long ago. Now a teenager is running it at a national qualifier. So why is this all happening? Is it because athletes are training more seriously from younger ages? Better coaching? Better access to social media or technology? Or is it something more uncomfortable like doping? The combination of all of this leads to trackflation. And the result is that the world lead keeps dropping. The personal bests keep falling. And Noah Lyles wakes up every week to find someone new has put a time on the board that makes his title of the fastest man alive feel less permanent. And what does this mean for the upcoming World Ultimate Championships later this year? Because when you line up all the contenders right now, this is genuinely one of the most wide open fields we have ever seen in years. Noah Lyles, still the man, still the defending Olympic champion, still the most complete sprinter on the planet. But there's Oblique Seville, the current world champion, running world leads, looking like he still has more to give. Trayvon Bromell, Marcel Jacobs, Kenny Bednarek, Zarnell Hughes, Rommel Glaive, Usain Thompson. 10 years ago, if someone ran 9.82, you assume they were probably going to win the world championship. Now that time is the world lead and multiple men could beat it before the season is even over. This is how competitive sprinting in 2026 has gotten. But literally, as I was putting this video together, the Prefontaine Classic just happened. And somehow this video gets even crazier. If there was any doubt that sprinting is entering a completely new era, we just saw the next generation announcing that they're arriving much sooner than expected. First up, in the men's 100 meters, a 21-year-old from Nigeria named Kanyinsol Ajayi delivered another incredible performance. Now this guy, he's an NCAA star, but you would think the pros would be a different beast, but you would be wrong, because he lined up against the reigning world champion Oblique Seville and walked away with the win in a blistering 9.84 seconds, showing that the depth in the men's 100 meter sprint just keeps on growing. Then in the 200 meters, it was an 18-year-old Tate Taylor who stole the show. Remember how Gap was supposed to be the next big thing? Well, he pulled out of this race due to an injury, and the high schooler Tate Taylor stepped in and defeated a world-class field and clocked an incredible 19.75 second 200 meter dash on his Diamond League debut. Now that's the third fastest under 20 athlete in history, and he did it in his first real pro race, and he wasn't even supposed to be there. And that's exactly why Noah Lyles should be paying attention. Not because he's suddenly become more slower, because he hasn't. Noah is still the Olympic champion, he's still the reigning king of the 200 meters, and he's still one of the best championship races this sport has ever seen. But every few weeks, another athlete seems to emerge with a breakthrough performance. Every major meet produces another headline. Every championship seems deeper than the last. Just think about who's in the conversation now. Oblique Seville is running the fastest races of his career. Trayvon Bromell and Jordan Anthony have already shown they can beat Noah Lyles this season. Marcel Jacobs suddenly looks like a genuine contender. And now you've got teenagers like Tate Taylor producing times that would have been almost unimaginable for someone his age just a few years ago. This is what I mean by trackflation. You have a Nigerian college athlete who just beat the world champion and a high schooler who just beat the Olympic champion at the exact same meet. The standard just keeps rising. World-class times that once happened once or twice a season are becoming the norm. The gap between the very best and everyone else is shrinking, and the list of athletes capable of producing something special keeps on getting longer. That's what makes this upcoming championship season so fascinating. Noah Lyles is still the man everyone has to beat, but for the first time in a long time, it genuinely feels like an entire generation is chasing him down all at once. And if these performances from Eugene are anything to go by, the next generation is getting closer and closer and faster every single week. The quality of sprinting in 2026 is arguably the best it's ever been since Usain Bolt. The depth of the field at the moment is extraordinary. The competition is genuinely so unpredictable. The times are faster than they have been in years. There is more real drama in any given 100 meter final right now than there has been in a long time since the prime Bolt era. But the truth is, Barely anyone is even watching. Jacobs runs 9.67 seconds, potentially the second fastest 100-meter time in history. And the meet is so random, no one even knows it happened. The Diamond League, which is supposedly the best track and field circuit, gets audiences on YouTube that are reasonably popular, but similar to views on my own channel, on my own sports, on my own shorts channel. There's no current structure that forces these athletes to race each other consistently. No calendar of major head-to-head events that will build rivalries over the season. I just checked the results on Tuesday and the race was in Austria on Saturday. And nobody was there. Nobody even knew it was happening. Here's an example of how bad the perception of sprinting really is. Justin Gatlin, a man who has run 9.74 and beaten Usain Bolt in a world championship final, isn't even known to the wider community, isn't even known to the casual sports fan. As earlier last year when he gave me a shout out on his story, I was so ecstatic that I told everyone he reposted my short. But to my surprise, nobody even knew who he was. And he's one of the fastest men in history. The sport failed to tell his story properly. It fails to tell most of its stories properly. And that's just a structural problem of track and field, not a talent problem. The sport of sprinting right now has never been more talented. Its audience has maybe never been smaller relative to the talent, and that gap is widening. So here's where we are. Noah Lyles is still the fastest man alive. He's still the favorite going into the biggest championship of 2026. His 200 is still the most dangerous in the world. His ability to perform when it counts is still elite. But for the first time in years, the gap between the fastest man in the world and everyone else is closing. Every week a new teenager seems to enter the conversation, and trackflation is not slowing down. Noah Lyles does not just need to be great this year, he needs to be the best version of himself in the most competitive 100 and 200 field in years. One slip up, one race where he's 95%, and someone else is 100%, that's all it takes now. This isn't just another sprint season. This might be one of the most competitive sprinting years we have ever seen. Now all this sport needs is for the rest of the world to take notice.